Israeli News Live.
Thank you, Ariella. It is November the 20th, 2018. And friends, last night I was getting reports after we did our broadcast on some things that are going on in the elite side of the Israeli government. And by the way, you definitely want to take a look at that video there. The sister that we had on, Pamela, who really exposes the Noahide laws, the guillotines in the United States, etc. She, in the beginning, really spends time because she was concerned about people not knowing, especially the evangelical community, not realizing her love and support for the Jewish people. And but she also, like ourselves, she supports Palestinians that are wronged as well. And so, at the first part there, she goes into much detail about that. And so that's a little lengthy, and I'm afraid that some people may not stay tuned and listen to the rest of the broadcast, which is a very good broadcast there. Losing a little bit of my voice here. I apologize for that. Just a little bit of a sinus issue I've been dealing with, so it's trying to take my voice as well. But anyway, so I was getting reports, though, that people were sending me saying, Steve, did you know that Israel is bombing inside of Syria right now? And I assume probably Iranian targets, if that were the actual case. I did not just jump on the report. The only one that I did see was I knew that Amir had, on his channel, somebody had sent me a link of his saying that this was happening. And it's not to deny that what he said is true or not true, but I did my own checking. I have sources both in Israeli intelligence as well as in Syria, and then of course to see if there's any credibility to the story too. I began to search also social media. I have a lot of friends that actually are in Syria that write me personally, that send messages as well, and normally they're always catching what's happening when this happens, even before I report it or me or anybody else would report it. And the Amman News is, they checked with the actual military themselves in Syria, and they put this article out, Syrian army denies reports of Israeli airstrikes over West Damascus. Now, that's not unusual, though. I've seen before where Israel does strike inside of Syria, and then articles like this would come out because the Syrian military would deny it. I checked with my own source on the ground there in Damascus, who is a journalist there, Vanessa Beeley, and checked with her about this particular report, and she got back with me a little bit later and said, no, there's no evidence at all. According to military sources, they say this did not happen. Now, they do say in the article here on Amman News that Israel has been flying near the border since the downing of the Russian plane, but they have not entered into Syria. Amichai Stein as well, Israeli journalist, and also we've corresponded back and forth from time to time. He doesn't speak a single word either about this event. And of course, I'm waiting for Israeli intelligence sources there to share with me what they know about is there a possibility. But the odd thing was on social media, the people that I do know on there, there's no evidence, there's no fiery bombs coming up in the sky, just as quiet as a mouse about it. So it seems to be that Amir may be the only one that has reported that. And at this particular point in time right now, I have no credible evidence whatsoever. None of our friends from Syria are reporting it. And I know that they watch the broadcast. If you want to comment down below, please do so. So at any rate, let's move on into some other issues here. That are happening there in the region there. And these are very signs that are very telltale. And that is the Syrian army is on high alert in northwest Syria after a jihadist attack kills 23 soldiers. This came out, of course, on, today on the 20th, in fact. And this is near Hama Latkia, where this happened at. Really serious situation is developing over the jihadists that are in Idlib and the ongoing attacks that are happening, and it's getting to a point that this could be a major escalation in the war. We know that the Turkish and Russian defense ministers were meeting today in Sochi to discuss the situation in Syria's Idlib province, and that's because they're trying to forge their relationship, but unfortunately what's happening here is it's getting to a point to where Russia is about ready to do a strike, and Russia has their naval forces on the ground doing their major drills there inside of the area. And so we're anticipating that something is about to take place, and it could be too that what was going on this last night was Israeli warplanes may have been checking out once again, as we reported the other day to you. We had through Russian media reports that Israel had been doing reconnaissance over the Hamimi air base there, looking at ways to take out the Russian air defense capabilities, as well as that air base itself, so that there could be no retaliation. And I know that's a little thorn in the side even for Israel for me to bring that out. But, hey, the truth is truth, and we got to say what's true. And so, again, Russian Navy, they're doing their exercise. I know they have closed parts of the airspace around that area because of the exercise with the cruise missiles, etc. And those exercises may pan out to be more than just exercises. Turkey has been very willing to fight against Russia over the situation in Idlib, because, as we know, Turkey backs the jihadists that are on the ground there, and Turkey is very much still a player for NATO. They may play the card with Russia, but they are truly a NATO ally, and I have a feeling that Russia is going to get bit right in the behind with this when they see that they turn on them. Another interesting bit of information was the Syrian president sent his first public message to the Jordanian king, and he was saying in that public message that they are one people. Well, I would go a step further to say that the Syrian people and the Israeli people are really one people as well, seeing that all the mothers of Israel are Syrians. And that's regardless, even if you take Jacob and his wives, go back to Jacob's mother, Rebecca. Rebecca also is a Syrian, so we do have a genetic tie to the Syrian people as well, and even the Palestinians for that matter, because we find that about 50% of the Palestinians share the DNA of the Sephardic Jewish community. But we know how the Ashkenazis feel about the Sephardic Jews. Are not very well beloved. Among certain circles, I should add. Not all Ashkenazi Jews feel that way. After all, my mother was Ashkenazi. My father was a Sephardic Jew. My mother's actually half Ashkenazi, half Sephardic herself. Her mother's side was Sephardic. Her father's side Ashkenazi. So, but moving on though, in these other issues here that we're looking at, one last one here I want to bring to your attention real quick. An Israeli sniper has shot an AP cameraman in the press vest as he films the border protest. It could be crossfire, but Israelis like to say that they know where every bullet lands when they fire these bullets. But you just never know. Unfortunately, it's a situation. Both sides, it's spiraled out of control. And quite frankly, I don't see really the message. I understand the plight of the Palestinian people. I was sitting there when I was watching the Israelis that were protesting that the Israeli government didn't bomb Gaza. They said they determine when we take our showers. And I thought to myself, well, so does the Israelis with the Palestinians. You shut the water off and they can't take showers at all for days at a time. Their drinking water is horrendous. What water they are being pumped in is recycled sewage water. So the disease that is rampant amongst these people, and this is truly not treating your neighbor as yourself. I mean, any Israeli, any true religious Jewish person that believes that Moses was our prophet, which I believe, and believes in the commandments that God gave to Moses to our people, besides the 10 commandments, he also spoke about loving your neighbor as yourself and not to oppress those that live among you because we were oppressed, then we have to take that into serious consideration, because the situation in the West Bank or even in Gaza, especially in Gaza, has only spiraled out of control since Yasser Arafat started the Intifada, which was nothing but a CIA and Mossad-backed operation in order to bring terror to the Israeli people to force a movement and for a preparation for a new world order. And unfortunately, my Israeli friends, my Palestinian friends, let me say that to both of you, you've both been played on both sides of the coin. And it is a biblical fact as well. Daniel clearly said that king of the north, see, he would come up strong with a small people, which were the Palestinians. There are many prophecies, including the current intifada using the knives, as prophesied in Ezekiel chapter 35, that would actually happen. But again, it's Esau's descendants who are there inciting this violence and behind the scenes. And of course, the elite of the Zionist shields that are in there are actually Esau's descendants as well. They are not true Jewish people. They only got into power. The Vatican made sure they got into power. The Rothschilds, again, another fake group there to start with. But all you have to do is go back and look. Look what happened during the Second World War, and you see that the Zionist leaders were there willing to send all the Orthodox community to the ovens and to be killed by the Holocaust neo-Nazis, and of course their collaboration with them. Imagine the surprise to all the Holocaust victims that did survive the death camps of Europe when they came to Israel after the 48 war, to see all the German-made products in the country, having no idea that the Zionists had collaborated with the Nazis in order to bring their products in. I mean, it's just really crazy. At any rate, my point being here, there's so much that we're lied to about on a daily basis. And going back once again, though, as far as an Israeli strike in Syria last night west of Damascus, those reports are being denied by both the Syrian military as well as Vanessa Billy, a good friend of ours who is a journalist in Syria. She also has confirmed that military sources are telling her, no, it never happened. Avichai Stein on Twitter, he's not spoken a single word about it, and he's one of the fastest ones on reporting Israeli strikes inside of Syria. And I've also got a request out with some of my friends there in the Israeli intelligence to see if they know anything about it as well. And of course, all the friends I have that live in Syria, no one is reporting any strikes in Syria. And believe me, when Israel strikes, they're really glad to report it. I can expect the Syrian military to deny it if in the event that they are trying to downplay something that took place. But when it comes to the people on the ground, they're just not saying it. I'm Stephen Ben-Nun with Israeli News Live. Erev Tov.